stay at home and mope. You can do something with your life. There are graduate internship opportunities for that department to function properly. Then after some time, I was moved again to start another department. That was the thought leadership department. We wanted to become a powerhouse when it came to data in the world of work. A lot of the data that we have now about the world of work in Ghana, a lot of the time are not done by Ghanaians. We use industry metrics from McKinsey, and those are not tailored to our markets here. So we wanted to start putting together data that HR persons can use. So I had to learn about HR. I had to learn about relevant or trending things in HR. We worked on a lot of opinion polls, published the findings from the opinion polls. You find it on our company website. Then after a year of setting that up, I was moved again to a new department to start that department again. So that's what I'm currently working. I work with the marketing and business development team currently. So that's just my story.
Hello, good morning. Very excited to be with you. My name is Winifred Cotin. Can you hear me? Awesome. So I interestingly, I read computer science. So I'm sorry you couldn't stay on. We would have loved to have you. And I also practiced. You haven't left. And I actually did like C++. So it was my favorite in school. So yes, my background is in IT. I fell in love with technology. It was love at first sight. So the first time I saw a computer, I think I was around 15, 16 years. And I particularly loved software because I thought it meant you could do everything in the world. And innately, I'm a problem solver. And I'm a very creative person. So it resonated with me very well. And what I did was I told my parents about my interest in IT when I came on vacation from secondary school. And then they took me to my father's workplace. They had a head of IT. So they took me to him, and then he gave me an overview of technology in terms of hardware, software, and then networking. Then it was very basic. This was in the 90s, so we were not as advanced as digital and then data as and artificial intelligence as we have today. So that began my journey. And then I went on to read computer science in school. I went to Valley View University. Then it was one of the few private universities, unlike today that we are so blessed, we have ACity and several others, that offered computer science as a choice. In other schools, you didn't even get to choose your degree programs. Back then, you were given a course by the university, but the private university I had then allowed me to take a course I wanted based on eligibility. So that was really great. While still on campus, I started working in the computer science lab as a lab assistant, and that's where I built a lot of user support skills and problem solving and troubleshooting skills. Fortunately for me, my university required us to take on internships during vacations. And that also really helped because I was able to improve and skills through internship programs. I did a number of internship programs whilst I was still a student. And when I was done with school, there was no other option for me. I really wanted to go into tech. So I didn't even open up to any other options. So I just went to look at which were the industries and places where technology was used as a driver of business. And I found a number of them. So there were not as many privately owned IT companies as we have today. The places where IT was used mostly was the telecoms industry to digital transformation. I did that for a couple of talent. Later on, I'll speak a little bit about my technology careers book, but I really am into ensuring that we have enough talent in the digital space. Why? Because digital is now ruling every industry. And for everyone who is going to be working in the next 5 years plus, you still need to have a lot of competencies in IT to increase your employability and open up global opportunities for you. So that's what I do. I do technology-related consulting, strategy, product development, digital transformation for industries, and for companies looking to transform and digitize the way they work. And I also do a lot of capacity building and thought leadership events. So that is who I am as a professional in the space.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Can I get a hi back? I just want to know you are all here and you're listening. All right. So my name is Juliana Ametogo. I am a radio network optimization engineer, a specialist at that. I graduated with a BSc in telecom engineering. Okay, so let me take you on the career journey. I intentionally did engineering. You know, there are people who find themselves doing courses that they didn't really plan for. They don't know how they even appear there, and they just try to just manage. But I intentionally found myself in engineering because of my love for maths and physics, science in general. And at the time, so yes, I did science in the secondary school. And then I realized that the engineering courses, when it was time for us to choose courses for the university, I saw a lot of people, the men or the boys, should I say, were really, really prone to the engineering and sciences. And we had our ladies just choosing the nursing and all the other arts and things. I was like, why are the women running away from this? And, you know, I'm just someone who likes to challenge the status quo. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to do what the boys are doing. And I'll make sure I do it and do it well. And also, at the time, I had to think, okay, you know, in the 2000s, that's when all the crave about mobile phones were up. People were having their big Gumwa Banchi, Mobitel and things. And, you know, if you have a phone, then you are just the guy. And the whole concept about the mobile phone and how it was working, it just excited me so much. I wanted to learn about it and see what I can do with respect to the telecommunications. So I remember one day I was sitting in a trotro from Accra to La Paz. And then we stopped at Circle, you know, the former Ghana Telecom office. So we stopped at Circle. Some people were dropping, others were getting on the trotro. And then I saw a couple of engineers who had closed. That was around 5 p.m. They had closed with their attire and their reflectors and all that, their helmets coming out of Ghana Telecom. And I was like, why? This is where I want to be someday, you know. That was just the motivation. So when I was done with secondary school, I chose telecom engineering, and thank God I got into it. So I left school, and then fortunately I got to do my national service in Airtel. So I wasn't thrown, I mean, like our sister, I wasn't thrown away to maybe in a nursing, a hospital or anything. I was given the field that I was in. So I did my national service at Airtel then. And before national service, I had done a couple of internships. I did an internship with ECG. So at the time, we were doing electronics and electrical engineering. And then in the third year, you branch off into the telecoms. So we did electrical engineering for some time. So doing my internship at ECG was just to help me find my fate and just check around and see if this is what I am interested in, if I would really want to do the electricals. So I did an internship at ECG, and I also did an internship at Tigo those days. We had a few workshops at Ghana Telecom whilst in school. So of course, before I left school, I realized that this is where my interest really is. It's just a confirmation that I want to be in the telecoms and I want to do telecom, in fact, maybe all my life or later. So during the national service, with all the internships I had done, I had acquired some soft skills, if I should say it, communication skills, teamwork, I mean, how to just blend into the industry and work with people. So when I got in, there was a lady who was supposed to go on maternity leave. And her job was more of a reporting job, but then she was meeting senior management of Airtel to deliver. They had someone to understudy her while she went on maternity leave. And that is what I did. So I held the fort for her for some months until she returned. So this means that just as a national service personnel, I was supposed to be facing senior management week on week, presenting a report to them, and taking feedback from them. So she came back, and then I had to continue with the rotation, going from department to department, various aspects in the telecom industry. Like, it's that broad and huge. I know when we think about telecom, we are just thinking about MTN, Vodafone, Airtel, Tigo, and all, but in the telecom industry, there are so many various aspects. So I did rotation from various departments, various functions, just to find my feet. And in that, I was building some acquaintances with the professionals who were there. So at the time also, the telecom industries had a lot of expatriates from different countries across the world. We had Indians, we had Chinese, we had Nigerians, various people who were various subject experts. I mean, they were nodes experts, if I should say system experts, who had come, and they were all working, and we're working together with them. So I spoke to a Nigerian friend, and I was like, okay, service is almost done. Where do you think I can really fit into the telecoms? As in, which of the departments is a hot cake currently? And then he advised that radio frequency, which is basically, so let's say basically what I do is to make sure that your mobile phones, whichever user devices you use, is able to connect to the network and gives you signals that you're able to use to make your calls and access data and everything. So he advised that, okay, if you go into the radio frequency space, this is a job. I mean, at the time when I just typed on the internet and checked like some of the jobs with regards to radio frequency, there were so many of them, expatriate jobs, so many of them. So he advised that I rather get into that department, and then I build my expertise in there. And that's exactly what I did. But I must say that I think when I did the job for the lady who went on maternity leave, I must say I think I did quite a good job, such that after she returned, CEO then, I think in a meeting, the management of Airtel asked about the lady who was doing that job. And they were in there. And I was working with Ericsson. So for the expatriate, I did that with Ericsson. So I had left Airtel, and I was working with Ericsson Ghana. And then I went to do the expatriate job with Ericsson Chad. And then I returned to Ericsson Ghana to continue working. And so, you know, in Ghana and in the world, the two main vendors that make telecom equipment for the operators to use, we had the Ericsson, and then we had Huawei. So I had built enough expertise in Ericsson equipment, but to make me, let's say, very employable, that I could fit into any society, any company, it means I needed to gain some expertise in Huawei. So after a few years, I left Huawei, and then I left Ericsson and joined Huawei in Ghana. And we were working on the MTN project. So I stayed on this for just a few months when I managed to get a very good grasp on the Huawei equipment and how to maneuver my way. And I could confidently say that I could work in any telecom company operator, whether they are using Ericsson equipment or using Huawei equipment, I could fit in. And that was when there was an opening with Vodafone. And you know, I told you a story about Ghana Telecom those days. My main motivation for going into telecom. And that was Ghana Telecom that became Vodafone. So, of course, it was like a dream job. I got to work where I was motivated to work. And that's how I landed a role in Vodafone. And I still had my expertise in the radio frequency space.
Yes. And after O-level, we had to do national service. And then you go and do A-level, and then come and do national service. After national service, you stay home for 1 year, and then you will look for university to go. So for the 1 year, I decided to teach at a preparatory school. And I had 61 kids in that class. I was the first teacher to be there. By 6 a.m., I will be there making sure they sweep all the compound and everything. And I can tell you that when you add responsibility, more responsibility to your talent, you excel. That is excellence. So I realized that everywhere I was passing, the students were following me. They loved me so much. I'm like, oh, okay, so this is my field. This is my calling. After that, I went to University of Cape Coast. I had offerings to do law and other things, but I wanted to teach. So I went to University of Cape Coast to do psychology. And I double major in guidance and counseling and then accounting. But as soon as I got to the university, I was invited that some people were contesting for SRC president and NUCS president, and they needed me to be their campaign manager. So, T. Jacobs, Dr. Spielgabra, and the others, we started debates, political debates. That time, my name was Shaba, so nobody knew that I was a young boy. And we would talk until we shut the radio, and people would not know it was me. So I was sitting in the taxi, people would talk about me, and they didn't know they were talking about me. Right after the university, I had to do national service again. So we did a lot of national services. Then I was picked to be a morning show host on radio. So I did that for 2 years. And then one day I had this former friend who called me that the German Technical Corporation is looking for a manager in the Volta region to take care of small town water projects. So the German government was giving Ghana government 90%. If you go to Karachi, if you go to Nkwanta, if you go to Ehi, Penyi, you will see that there's a big tank, reservoirs, and they have submersible pumps, and they have pipes all over the towns. We did it. So the German government was giving 90% of the money. The Ghana government was supposed to pay just 5%, and then the community will pay 5% for ownership. We were not getting the Ghana government money. We were not getting the community money. So the 10% was lacking. And we had to work with the District Assembly Common Fund to take the money from source just to get water for our people. So I did that for 2 years, and then I left for the States in 2004. In U.S., I have done a lot of work, including being a manager for Pearson, where I was in charge of 200 different state board testing. So I could have been anybody in America. If you want to write medicine, to be a medical doctor, you have to test with me. Engineering, nursing, FBI behavioral test for to be an FBI agent. All these courses you have to test. Even in America, before you become a barber, you need a state license before you can cut hair. So everything you need license there. And I had to test every day because you need to test before you can test people. So I have done all exams. And you can tell that everybody from many states, Texas, Arizona, California, were coming to Ohio, where I was, to test. And my rating was the highest in the whole of America, 98%. Because everybody who write the test will have to evaluate the manager at the test center. Why? Because I am a calm person. And I didn't know that that was a soft skill that was lacking in America. People who are calm all the time. Because everybody coming to take a test is nervous. And if you calm them down, that is what they are looking for. So I started getting opportunities, and one day a man came to me and said that, Enoch, can we go for lunch? We went for lunch, and he said, there's this university there that I want to go for you to see. We went through an elevator. There was an office. He sat me at the office and said that, what will you do to change situation at this university? And I started talking about things that I would do. The man said, I'm going to use the restroom. He stepped down. I saw him at the parking lot because the whole buildings had glasses. So I saw him at the parking lot driving off. And I said, what kind of white man is this? You brought me to a big office. You left driving off. So I called him. And he said, yes, you are the new head of department of that business school. That is my university. So I started as a head of department for that university. I worked for about 5 years. And then I had a call from the state of Wisconsin that state of Wisconsin had a challenge. They have one university, University of Wisconsin, but they have 12 different campuses in 12 different cities. And they have 16 technical colleges which do drones and guns and all that. That's all the students do for the technical colleges. And the 16 of them don't have any leadership program. So my job was to design 16 leadership courses for the entire state. And that is what I did. And when I was doing that, after 3 years, I had another call from the same state. There's a university, Viterbo University, that I moved from there to this place a year ago. They were looking for somebody to head the only master's program in America on servant leadership. And they said that, we've seen what you do. I had also written books on servant leadership. So I went there to chair that department. And one day I had a call that if you do all these and you get old and you go back home where mama lives and you begin to tell stories, then what? What have you done for your own people? So I decided to pack bag and baggage, come to Ghana, and then give back to a country that gives so much to me. And that is why currently I'm the Dean of the School of Business and Communication at ACity.
Thank you very much. The submissions are very loaded. Our panelists have had very interesting career journeys. Some of the things I picked was start early, start small. You don't need to start in your field. You can start in another field. Work not because you are being paid, but work to get the experience. You never know which door will open for you. What you are studying, what are the drivers of business? The career fair is going on. You are studying a particular field. But what can your field of business drive in other businesses as well? We hope the light gets on soon. Add responsibility to talent as well. And for those of you who have not taken Trotro before, please take Trotro. You never know. So the conversation is getting interesting, but we're also looking at time. So we'll try and run through the questions quickly, and then we appeal to our panelists to keep the answers shorter so that we can interact with others, have enough time for interaction later. So, Professor Enoch, since you're holding the microphone, this question is to all of you. In a sentence or two, how would you explain bridging talents with opportunity?
For me, this is very simple. Your talent is your opportunity. The two are synonymous. So when we talk about talent, it is your strength. What do you do best? And Gallup has done a lot of research for the past 50 years. If you go to Strength Finder 2.0 online, you will see that Amazon is selling Strength Finder 2.0 book. I think it's about $15. If you buy it, they will give you 800 questions. It's yes, no, I agree, disagree, just that. Once you finish, it's going to give you your 5 best talent in the world. That is what we use to train CEOs in America, your talent. Your talent is your strength. So when I did my best strength was ideation. And ideation means that if we are looking for, any company is looking for new ideas, and they're looking for a leader who brings new ideas, then they are hiring me. Some people do it and they are woos. They are very friendly. They see you, oh, hi, everybody. And if a company is looking for a woo, then they will hire you. So look for your talent. My first talent is in ideation. The second one is responsibility. And the third one is input. So if you get a chance, go find Strength Finder 2.0 online, and then make sure you do that assessment. It will give you your 5 best strengths, and that will be your talent. Now, coming back home, everything that you do better than others, that's your talent. So I think 1998, about 500 psychologists, professors met in New Delhi in India, and they decided to think about the definition of intelligence. And each one of them came out with a different definition of intelligence. We're all intelligent in a different way. Somebody is a boxer and is very good at boxing. Somebody is a musician, very talented at that. Somebody, models and is good at that. My oldest son, who is 17, Eldridge, he is good at music. So he's got his own website that he blend African music with European music and American music, and he's tagged it LB Beats, and he sells it to American rappers and make money. He bought his first car when he was 15 years. That is his talent. In fact, I was so furious that I went to the school that my son cannot do this because he's a very quiet guy. But he's good at blending beats. So any music you have in America, he will give you a beat to put your music on, and that is his talent. He's making a lot of money from that. My little boy is about 5'4". He's 12 years, and he's a star. Everybody in the city knows him because he plays basketball. If you look at his mates who are all taller than him, he's very forceful. And that is his talent. So think about what you do better than anybody. When you meet in class, what is the thing that people ask you for help? Give them some gig on the side. Anything that you do better than others, that is your talent. And parents are looking for talents. Organizations are looking for talent. Professors are looking for talent. Universities are looking for talent because nobody wants to hire a dummy. That is why talent is if you don't know your talent, you'll be running in cycles in life. Think about all the friends and the classmates we've had. And up till now, you see that some people are languishing in poverty. They don't even know what to do with their life because they could not identify their talent. So please, look for something that you are very good at, that people can acknowledge that you are very good at. One thing that we do in America is that when you begin your master's program, we will send emails secretly to give us 10 names of your best friends. And we send secret emails to them. Tell us the best thing you've identified in this person. So before you come in, we know your talent. And we are going to hone in on that talent for you because that is the only way you can become successful. So the talent will bring you the opportunity. If you don't know your talent, then there's going to be a gap in the opportunity you get because anywhere they hire you, you're not going to be a fit. And before I end, many people in Africa have this kind of Victorian age idea. When I talk about Victorian age, I'm talking about the 19th century, where Queen Victoria was ruling in Britain. So the Victorian age idea is that if somebody is hiring me, then the person has got a bunch of money sitting down. So as soon as they hire me, I go and they will pay me every month. No, it doesn't work like that. In cost accounting, we cost you, the person that we are hiring you. So if you are going to give you 5,000 Ghana cedis a month, it means you have to bring in 15,000 Ghana cedis every month. You have to pay us 3 times what we are paying you. Because the father of economics, Adam Smith, said that nobody is in business as a Father Christmas. You are in there to make profit. So if I'm hiring you and you don't bring any skill set, which is your talent, on board that can make me make more money, then there's no need hiring you. So it's only in Africa that somebody will come to your workplace, has never worked before, and come and tell you that I am asking for 5,000 Ghana cedis a month. In the advanced world, you don't even ask for money when they are hiring you and you don't have any work experience. Because you have to come to the table and prove yourself. We don't care about certificate you bring in. We care about what you bring to the table. So your talent is very important. But you need to identify that talent, and that talent will bring you that opportunity. Before I end, no matter your talent, if you are not disciplined, you cannot go far. Thank you.
I think, Prof. Bridging talent with opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. My other panelists said Prof has said it all, so we should move along. So moving along, this question goes to Winifred and Juliana. Can you share insights into current industry trends that students should be aware of?
Okay, so I would say that in my industry, in tech, I started off by saying that technology drives every other industry, especially services-based industry. Even in manufacturing, now we have robotics and automation also coming in. One of the differences now, or the trends to look out for, is creativity. So in the past, we had a lot of memory-based jobs. a lot of the things we did was based on memory. So in the industry, there's one popular thing, standard operating procedure. So sometimes when you get a job, they'll give you a fat file, which has actions to take when you encounter scenarios. Now those things are moving out and they are getting obsolete. Now a lot of industries demand creativity, imagination, problem solving capabilities. And these are the things that I would advise that everyone in school should start developing. Interestingly, these are also parts of our talents. We may not have been developing them over the years because maybe what we had in school demanded a lot of memory. So our memory muscles may be very strong, but our imagination, perception, judging, observation, all these other intellectual capabilities we have may have been weak. But now industry is changing because when it comes to memory, no one can beat artificial intelligence. AI is able to learn faster, is able to reproduce faster, is able to actually think through problems in a different way than we can because we are limited by time. So the difference now in industry is that a lot of industries are now looking for talent or professionals or people who can be creative in terms of creating new solutions, taking advantage of changing consumer needs, changing market needs, changing regulatory needs, taking advantage of the existing innovations in IT or in tech to look at the risks that are coming up. So one of the key things I always tell people when I do career guidance related thing is that how imaginative and how creative are you? And I'll give an instance. So if we take certain professions like fashion, we see that a lot of fashion designers or architects hitherto use a lot of their creative skills. But the way the world is changing, we would all have to use these creative skills we have. And then we would be able to fit in because the landscape of work is changing so fast that if you want to say that this is a textbook approach to doing something, the business would collapse. And I like what Prof said, it is your value addition to the institution that would lead to your compensation. So once you can't add value, now world of work is performance driven. Once you can't add value, the reason for retention would also be no more by your employer. So ability to think through problems, create solutions, think about how additional value opportunities can be added to the company you work for, or even if you're an entrepreneur, how you can add value to the market so that someone pays you is very key. Thank you.
Okay. So to add to that, technology is just our way of life now. Technology has changed so much the way we live. If you look back, some few years ago and now, a lot has changed around us. I can imagine if there's anybody amongst us who doesn't know how to use Uber or Bolt, you are lacking behind. And the introduction of COVID, when COVID came, it indeed changed a lot about the workplace. I believe you've all heard about remote working, which came to stay after COVID came. Because the companies, the industries, they had to keep working, but then people were asked to isolate. This brought the introduction of people having to work from home. And how do you effectively work from home? It means you need to be proficient in using digital tools. You need to be able to use your computers, to be able to connect to your systems and your notes from wherever, and still deliver on your task. So one skill you really need to learn, it's your digital proficiency, how to use your digital tools to be able to work. Okay, so aside that, we've heard about cybersecurity a lot these days. Everybody is talking about digitalization. You put on your TV and you're hearing a lot about digital transformations going on everywhere. We hear about the cashless society, how we want to just use less cash and use our cards. And this is giving birth to a lot of fraud in the system. So we have fields like the cybersecurity, which is an emerging field, which currently, if you happen to have expertise in cybersecurity, it puts you a mile or just a step ahead of your counterparts. So you need to have some cybersecurity expertise. And if you have students in here who are able to learn some bit of cybersecurity now, even as students, it means when you get into the workplace, you are most likely to do better than your colleagues. Okay, let me just mention one more. I think Winifred did mention about the AI, artificial intelligence. It is ruling and running a lot of things in the world right now. And if you decide to sit up and learn something about artificial intelligence and understand how it works, this means that when you get into the work field and you have to produce something using artificial intelligence, you'll be a step ahead and you'll be able to do that. Because of time, I think I'll leave it at this. Thank you.
Thank you. So my next question goes to Professor Enoch and Dillis. So Professor Enoch, working with students and your experience, and Dillis being in HR, having HR experience, what can you tell our students? How do they stay informed about emerging opportunities in their chosen fields?
Hi. So we've spoken a lot about digital. Things are changing, so it means how we are hiring talent is also changing. And at first, people will come to offices, they will drop their CVs, and then somebody will look at the CV. If the person doesn't like your name, you are doomed. But we don't do things that way anymore. A lot of our hiring as a company is very digital. And we don't only hire for our firm, we hire for other companies as well. So we're using online platforms like our website or job sites. And then majority of the people who come through the system are also through LinkedIn. So when I speak to students, I always tell them that have a LinkedIn account. LinkedIn has AI-powered tools that can link you to the right hirers or the right jobs. So how many of us have a LinkedIn account? So LinkedIn is one of such platforms. Beyond that, I have also realized that there are networking platforms on or pages on Telegram specifically. There's one for people who are looking for jobs. So you can go on there. Jobs are posted every day. I am telling you. When people tell me, oh, I work with students a lot at church, and they always come to me, I don't have a job. I tell them, are you part of any network? Are you on LinkedIn? And we're using our phones and we are consuming a lot of content. We are not consuming content that is necessarily helping us or linking us to opportunities. And that's one area where I have issues with our students. So as a firm, we're also hiring digitally. You submit your CV through digital means. AI is now what is screening through the CVs. So the CV is first not coming to a human. So it means your CV will be tailored. I know we'll talk about that later on in the conversation. But we are hiring through digital platforms solely. We are not placing ads in the newspapers anymore. We're using our websites. We're using LinkedIn. So if you want opportunities, these are the platforms. And let's say you want to work at a particular company. I have a list of companies I want to work at. So every week, I go to those companies and see if there are opportunities for me. Every company has a career site. When you visit those career pages, they post their jobs there. You will see thousands of jobs. Trust me. Don't sit back in your dorm room and say there are no opportunities. They exist. They exist digitally. If you are visiting the right platforms, you will find the right opportunities.
Well, a little bit to add to that. When we talk about trend, we're talking about what the future ought to be. And sometimes I struggle a little bit looking at the trend in Europe and America and then the trend here. We are lagging behind over 100 years. And the reason is very simple. We call ours resume. You call it here curriculum vitae. Anytime you put your resume in or your CV in, like she said, AI picks your strength right away. So don't ever underestimate your strength. And even though you are going to school here, research has shown that any idea that you are thinking about, there are 7 other people in the world who are thinking the same. So you are competing with the rest of the world. Friedman said that the world has become flat. And because of that, anywhere you are going, there's somebody who is also going there. So your CV is going to speak for you until they call you for interview. And that is why there are some keywords you do. For us, I have sat in many places that we hire students, anywhere that I've been. Hiring professors, hiring teachers, and all that. In America, you have only 11 seconds to prove yourself. We call it elevator speech. 11 seconds, 11. We've decided whether we're going to hire you or not. And if we will not hire you, maybe we can sit somewhere with you and drink beer, but we're not going to hire you. So the idea there, up to Congress, you have only 2 minutes to stand and speak. We don't waste time, even you speaking. If you cannot bring your thoughts together within 2 minutes, then you are coming to waste our time. So the world is moving at a very fast pace that we are looking for your wit. How quick you can respond to event. That's what we're looking for. If you look at digital transformation, that is the future. But digital transformation is 2 words, from IT and management. So the future, I would say, is interdisciplinary. Think about who you can pair with. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you are good at IT, pick somebody who is good at management. And then you can start your business. So that you bring the IT piece, the other person will bring the management piece, and then boom, you start in the business. All big businesses that you know in America started with 2 people. Google, 2 people. Ernst & Young, Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble. They are all 2 individuals. So it's a partnership. You pick your skills, pick another person's skills, and then you begin to work together. But make sure you bring the law in, and this is Africa. Make sure that you know how you're going to share the profit before you start. Else, in the middle of it, when the money begins to stream in and you bring the lawyers and say, let's talk about how we're going to share the money, you're going to have problems. So from the beginning, make sure that you do that straight away. And then the next thing I will tell you is that once you realize that you have some deficiency in something, educate yourself. You know, some people have explained to me that education is too long for them, they don't have the time. So we also have to do something. In academia, we have to do something. In Europe and America, they hire students to do the cleaning, to do work at the library. So that gives you the kind of work experience while you're still going to school. Everybody works. Here, you guys are lucky. You know, you have no job. I have a guy here called Chobox, Casey. You know, there are new plastic chobox that they are selling. He's already sold 5,000 pieces. He tried to hire some Legon and UPSA students. Their parents got to know that these kids are working at night, and they told them, you can't go to school and work. Just concentrate on your studies. Don't go to work. In Europe and America, students are working 8-hour shift a day and going to school. When I was doing my master's, I was doing 12-hour shift at night, 6 to 6 a.m., 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., and then going to school the same day. I did that for 2 years before I did another 5 years for my PhD. So here you guys have got things easy. The only job you have is education. And why people cannot sit on their butt and learn, I don't understand. They are lazing around, talking on the phone. I've never seen anybody being on your phone and flipping it at the end of the month. They will give you money that because you flipped your phone and then you play with it, here you go with some money. And another research has shown that even when you post something on Facebook, you go there at least 20 times a day to check. Those who have liked and those who have commented. It's a waste of your time. So the youth of today are wasting all their time on social media. I remember I had opportunity to go to Seattle to meet this guy of Microsoft. What's the name? What's the name of the guy, the owner of Microsoft? Bill Gates. So I went to his house in Seattle, and there are books that he bought for 4.5 million books. People here don't even like to read. His children are not using laptop and all these gadgets. Go to the library, the family library, and read. Because there's knowledge in books. So please, form some book clubs. Read about the trend in what is going on. If you go to Europe and America and you see medical doctors who are the best in the field, they are always reading on the field. They are always upgrading their knowledge, because if you don't use this brain, you lose it. Even those who are at the homes, at the elderly homes, 85, 90 years, they force them to read 15 minutes every night before they sleep. Else, Alzheimer. So do not stop learning. Once you come to university, you should commit yourself to lifelong learning. That is the trend, because in your field, your chosen field, any new ideas, you get it. But if you don't read and you think that you finish learning, we don't finish learning. You will be expert in your field, but within some few years, the young guys will take over from you, and then you begin to be jealous about them, and you begin to gossip about them, and you will create a toxic environment that doesn't help efficiency at the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. So in Prof's submission, he made mention of the word resume or CV. So my next question will center around that. We recently had some visitors from some US universities, and they were sharing with us some of the mistakes that we make. And in as much as we are saying use AI, use ChatGPT, there's a negative side to it. So they talked about motivation statement or statement of purpose. And they said something that resonated with me. They said, if you use ChatGPT to write your motivation statement or your statement of purpose, it means you yourself, you don't value yourself. Because think about it, there are 30 of you, you all read engineering, you all read accounting or business. So if everybody is going to use ChatGPT, what's different about yours? So if you didn't care to put time in to write it, why should they read it? So my question about resume, and the question goes to Dillis. What are some of the mistakes that job applicants make when they are submitting their CV or their job applications?
I think one thing I have noticed, and I am thinking it is a Ghanaian mistake. People write on the document boldly, CV, at the top. And when I was working in hiring and we weren't using digital platforms, as soon as we see that there's CV at the top, you join the pile of people that we've already rejected. So I think that's the number one mistake. Number two is people don't use a lot of keywords that are relevant to the role. And I think Prof mentioned that. I mentioned earlier that now AI is what is screening your CVs. And you know how AI works. You feed it information and you ask it to act based on the information. So let's say I'm looking to hire a Java programmer. I have specific things that I am looking for from a Java programmer who has worked in the field for 5 years. So I'll put in those keywords. But when the AI picks your resume or CV, it screens and checks, okay, are all these keywords available? Yes, no. If no, your CV doesn't go through the screening process. Your journey for the job ends immediately at the application phase. Now, when resumes come to, after the screening phase with the AI, we pick the resumes that has been screened and we take a deep dive. Number one thing is if there's a typo. People are looking for, organizations are looking for, or if when I am hiring talent, I'm looking for somebody who pays attention to detail. If you have typos on your resume, you are not detail oriented. So immediately you move to the left. Then we look at skills. People don't write relevant skills, like skills that are relevant to the role. Sometimes people write all manner of things. People tend to write sometimes their hobbies, and it will surprise you that on the one-page resume, the hobby has taken like 1/5 of the page. I've been swimming, I travel around Ghana. Weird things that are not needed for the type of job we're hiring for. So that also goes to the left. And then that will be the end for you. One thing that I think is very crucial is do not lie on your CV or your resume. See, if it is, you've not had any work experience, it is better for you to put that on your resume than for you to say you've worked in XYZ companies. If you are not careful and you make it to the interviewing aspect and we start to take a deep dive into the role you've claimed you've worked in for years, you will be disgraced. And you know HR is like a rotating kind of industry. Everybody in HR knows somebody. The HR manager at Vodafone can move to, let's say, Airtel Tigo and be the HR there. So you will think you've skipped Vodafone and you've told lies there, you've been disgraced through the interview, and you want to go to another firm. You'll be shocked to meet the same HR there. So those are the 3 things. Use keywords. Do not put CV bold at the top. Your name is relevant for your CV. That should be the item that has the highest, or that should be the highest that has the highest, the biggest font. Sorry, font size. My name is always font size 14 on my CV. The rest are either 12 or 10. I need you to know my name and remember it. It's psychological. When you go for interviews, they will use your name to remember you, not what you. They'll use your name to remember you, and then in turn, they remember what you spoke about. But if your name is written small and a CV that is there, who will remember you at the end of the day? Use keywords. Check your CVs thoroughly if you can. Ask somebody else to look at the CV for you. Also, don't bring in CVs that are 3 pages when you are looking for an entry-level job. My boss disqualified someone for a job because the person brought a 4-page CV. And I think this was an SRC president or something or campus. So he felt like he had done so much on campus. But my job saw the CV and said, oh, this is your CV. 4 pages. But what have you done? That your CV is 4 pages. I was seated there and wondering what the response will be. Then afterwards, she was like, oh, I asked the boss, but what is wrong with? She said, tell us, the person has just finished national service. Why is that person's CV 4 pages? Who has time to go through 4 pages of CV for someone who is just coming out of national service? We know you don't have a lot of experience. You may have just done some internships here and there, but that doesn't warrant a 4-page CV. So your CV should always just be 1 page, should be concise. You should mention things that are relevant to the roles you are applying for. Some of us have been privileged. We've had 6 or 7 roles in company. But when I'm applying for a job, I put on the CV the roles I have had in the past that are relevant to the specific job I am applying for. I remember one time I was applying for one of these fellowship things, and we had to put in a resume. And it was a fellowship about how you are impacting your community. But I have so much work experience. What do I do then? I have to look at the things I have done in terms of community and make sure those things have prominence on my CV. So there I am able to talk about my work with the CSR of the company instead of mentioning what I do in the company. So put on the relevant items, things that are relevant to the role you are applying for, not ambiguous things. If you worked with your mom at the bakery when you were age 12, it is not relevant for a job in IT. Thank you.
Can I just add something briefly, just shortly? Just make sure you are very conversant with whatever is on your CV. Whichever tool you have used to help you write a CV, make sure you know what is in there. It gets very embarrassing when an employer is going through your CV and asks you something you yourself have put in the CV. And then you are just fumbling. You are even surprised at what has been asked because you don't know what is in your own CV. So please, however you write the CV, just make sure you are very conversant with whatever it is in there that you are presenting about your own self. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question goes to you and Winifred. We are talking about CVs. My next question is on interviews, and it's 2 questions in one. How can one prepare for a job interview to make a positive impression on potential employers, and what are some of the common mistakes you see during interviews? I know you've gone through interviews yourself and you've interviewed people. What are some of the things that you have seen between Juliana and Winifred on your career journeys?
Okay, so one of the mistakes is what I just mentioned. Let's talk about how to prepare adequately for an interview. I'll just mention 2 points there. So, first of all, you need to have enough information about whichever company you are being interviewed in. You don't go into an interview not knowing anything about the company that has called you to come for an interview. So make sure you take time enough, go through the profile of the company, know about them, know what they do, know what their mission is, what their vision is, what they stand for, so that when you're asked any question regarding the job you're applying for, how you fit into that environment, you know the right answer to give. And please, you need to be confident about yourself. You should not go into an interview fumbling. I mean, it puts everything off. So be very confident. Communicate clearly. And if you know whatever it is you have written on your CV, you know what you're talking about, it boosts your confidence. And you talk confidently looking at your interviewers. Don't go looking around and fidgeting on your phone and doing all sort of things. When people are seated in front of you asking you questions, it tells a lot about you. So you need to be confident. Okay, that is the second post. Am I done? Okay, so Winifred, you go on. Yes.
Okay, so I think so. The question is mistakes people make when they are going for interviews, right? So I'll give a recent example of. So I work as a consultant and then also as an entrepreneur. So I do multiple things in life. All right. So I'll give you an example of a recent, my most recent engagement as a professional. So there was a company in town that wanted to do market research, and I do a lot of, I've been in the ecosystem for a while, so I meet different people who want to come into our market, into the tech space. So this company, someone who is knowledgeable about the technology and digital landscape in Ghana, and I was recommended as someone they should speak with. And this is something I do. So when I met with them, I gave them a lot of history, current status, where policy is directing market. I gave them all the insights I could give them, and then opportunities also in the market. When I was done and they went back, they were not from the country. When they went back, they reached out again and said that we think we want to do business in Ghana, so we really loved your insights, and we are looking for people to work on a project for us, consultants to work on a project. So can you make some recommendations? I said, great, let me have your job description so that I'd find out if I knew people who would match, who are best fit. And then they didn't say anything. After 2 days, they got back and said, we actually were thinking of you when we made the request. And I said, okay, but I am not actually looking for a job at the moment. And they said, oh, but we want you to work on this for you, for us, because of the depth of experience. Now, I did the engagement with them. Why am I giving this example? Jobs come in different forms. So in my experience, there are 3 ways you get interviewed. One, you get interviewed very informally. I think Prof mentioned his own experience. I've had similar situations too. So usually when you go higher up in your profession, the way you are interviewed for a job is not the CV route. Whilst you are still lower down, still young in your professional growth, you are interviewed based on the CV route in 2 forms. One, mass recruitment. So my first job I had in the bank was mass recruitment, where you are not being interviewed for anything specific. They have an intake. They want 30 people to be hired this year. So 30 of those who had first class or whatever their criteria is, that's what they use. So you find that those interviews, what you need to bring to the room is your knowledge of the company. So always make sure you do a lot of background work. This company that has called you for an interview, usually you would have shared your CV across multiple places, or someone has taken your CV and then dropped this, then you get called. Learn about the company. What do they do? What is their vision? What is their objectives? How aligned are you as a person and your talent to their objectives? During the interview, the questions they would ask, you try to relate them to the skills and the talent you have and where they want to go to, which is in their mission statement. So always, anytime someone calls you for an interview, first make sure you understand what they do, what their philosophies are, what their current problems are, if possible. so that during the interview, when it's a generalized interview, you will not talk about things which are very unrelated to what they need. Because when you have 10 minutes to make an impression, you want to make an indelible mark in the mind of the person interviewing you. So generally, you would experience two forms: mass recruitment related interviews, and then the next one will be specific. So where is specific? That is when they've advertised for a role and you've applied. So for instance, assuming they are looking for an accountant, and then you have expertise in accounting, then it putting your skills first, and you are very knowledgeable in your skills because they'll be asking you accounting related questions. So when you don't have a specific job, you learn about the company, the philosophies, what they want to do, where they are going, and what are the opportunities even in the market for them, so that you can say that when you hire me, this is how much value I can also contribute in my current capacity. So these are the two main things I would say. And then when you go up, then you start thinking about all the other informal ways you get interviewed. Because at my level, we don't even write CVs again. But people call you because they think you can offer value to them.
Thank you very much. Prof will add to what she has said, but I want you to prepare your questions. After Prof speaks, we are opening up for questions. So just get ready. Prof, please go ahead.
Yeah, just a brief one. One of my books is Counting the Count. I have 7 books on Amazon. All my books are textbooks in America. And I interviewed 50 top Fortune 100 companies in America, the HR people. Interviews are before, during, and after. So before, they've said it all. You need to know a lot about the company, their mission, vision, values, and all that. But some of these companies will call you and do, online interview first. Before, when you impress, they bring you in person. We do that at ACity when we're hiring lecturers. During the online, you will see that people are having intermittent power issues. When they talk, you don't hear. Sometimes some women have put one of the hair here covering, one of their eye, and you can't see their face very well. If it is like that, it means that we're not going to hire you, right? Because once you apply for a job, another research has shown that at least 50 people have applied for the same job. So the ratio is 1:50. Everybody is looking for the same job. So if you have your hair covering one of your eyes, then we can't see you. So know about the company, get ready, dress well, put your style off. If you have some tattoos, you cover them. If you have some piercing all over the place and everything, we don't want to see that. So your own personal style, especially when you are going for the face-to-face interview, we don't want to see them. At least dress well for us to see that you are Karachi or a rapper. What that means is that even those who murder, those who are murderers, when they go to court, do you see them in suit and tie? Why do they create that impression? Because they are trying to tell that I didn't kill that person. Look at the way I'm dressed. I'm dressed like a gentleman. So appearance is very important. Very, very, very important. I had to sack a guy here when we were interviewing for lecturership. He comes from Legon. We interviewed him. He was wearing some Lacoste shirt and jeans. And I told him, my friend, to come and teach in management, and this is how you dress for interview, I'm not going to hire you. Because you don't look like somebody who will be a good role model and mentor my student very well. Imagine going to any institution and dressing anyhow when you are a banker. Who will bank with you and put their money in your bank account? So, yes, before that, make sure that you research about the company. Now, the day that you are going for the interview, the worst mistake you can do is to be late. If you are late for an interview, it means you are not serious. So at least be there about 15 minutes earlier, get to know the people there. Make sure that the secretary and everybody you talk to, because so computers should not tell us who you are. You should know yourself. You've carried your body for many years. So take time to write your CV. It is yours. You have to tailor it just like you've gone to the tailor to, sew something to fit you. That is how your CV should be. So that any question asked on that paper, you can answer. Second one is that if you go for interviews and you don't ask questions, there, and then the first question when he was posted and my father got his credential is that, Master, so can I do extra classes to make money? And my father was like, you just came here, you're thinking about how to make money. This is a village that some of these kids don't even come to class. They are always going to the farm. Instead of thinking about how to bring them to class, you're thinking about extra classes. So some people are always thinking about money, but if you put your money up front, that is why the other part that we do in the advanced world is that you have to use verbs on your CV. Tell us about things you've done. That is your best foot forward. I slashed waste by 20%. I increased sales by 15%. Those are the words we want to see. It means you've done enough. And here I've also seen a problem. People will write their name, their address, and then they will write the number of children and their age. Who cares about your age and number of children that you have? And then their qualifications too, they will start with the lower one. So bachelor's before master's and PhD. No. Your highest qualification, CV, you are bragging, running your mouth. So that will hire you. So put your best foot forward. Your highest achievement, put that one forward. So that will strike them first before your lowest achievement. That is what I've seen. But my friend, questions is everything. Make sure you ask questions because through the questioning, you can get some of the answers that you're looking for.
Thank you, Prof. So we are on questions. Prof says he wants more questions. Any more questions? Any more questions? Yes, okay.
So I'll give this other example. So sometimes per organization, things may be a bit different. So the last company I had, it was a startup, so we didn't have an HR team. So I was the COO, and I was also hiring for talent. And I used to hire 3 types. So there were administrators, there were data scientists, and then computer scientists. And I would get overwhelmed by CVs because anytime you put out an ad, you have over 100 CVs overnight. So I created something new. So I told you I'm a very innovative person. What I did was for every new role we wanted to hire for, I would put up 10 questions and create them on Google Forms. And I'll just create the link to my job ads. And anyone who fills the form, I also had an analytics tool I would use to analyze the results. So there was no more CV. And for every question I asked, it was purely related to a task that was to be done. So for instance, if you were a data scientist and we're asking around, how do you clean data? Give 3 examples if you wanted to clean data which didn't have this field or was like this. So people had to put in responses. Okay, so I just wanted to add this, that sometimes even the organization you are looking at may not even be going with CVs. And these were junior professionals we were looking at. So you also need to be very creative. And then one of the good questions to ask is that if you want to find out about the role, ask questions regarding daily operations of the role. You can ask questions around what are some of the mistakes people make in that role, because it means you are looking at how you can improve processes. Or you can ask questions around what is a competitive threat they've noticed in their market. So you can also ask the organization several questions, but it shows that you are interested in adding value or bringing something good to the company when you are hired. And then the last one, there's a report by World Economic Forum. It's called the Future of Work Report. They release it every year, and it gives general industry trends on how people are hiring. It's a prediction of how the world of work is going to look at. So I would advise that we should be looking out for the Future of Work Report. It's released annually by World Economic Forum, and this is data from global job hiring practices. So that also helps in planning our career paths.
Thank you very much. And even though we started late, I want to be very respectful of time. We are already past the 12 o'clock mark. So we'll round it up so that you can start going to the field and meet companies, even though I had loads of other questions to ask. But just to summarize, don't forget that you can get jobs on Telegram. Prof mentioned, don't forget to get your 2.0. It's an assignment. If you can't remember, you need to see Prof and you remind you of what it is. Think of creativity, think of imagination, and don't stop learning. So if you forget anything that you've learned today, don't forget these 5 things. And on this note, I want to call on Mr. Imanowoyome to come and give us the vote of thanks and the closing remarks. Mr. Woyome.
Thank you. Another round of applause for Dinabi. It's been almost 2 hours of exciting learning, discovery, and a lot of questions. The fairgrounds is set. Companies are waiting for us, and we'll be moving from here for that particular assignment. On that note, I want to stand on behalf of the university to appreciate our panel members for the lessons and the experiences they've shared with our students. And we hope that this will help them to find their feet at the world of work when they exit from here. A round of applause for them once again. Yeah, so at the fairgrounds, you'll be assessed, and at the end of the session, we'll be identifying 2 best students from the corporate side. We'll be judging the most impressive student and then the best CV. So make sure you present yourself in the best way to stand a chance of winning those awards. I will still call on the Dean of Students, Dean Abi, to stand to present some packages to the panel members before they take their seat. Inshira, come forward with the items. So the first one will go from the male side. We'll start from our own prof, Professor Entry. Thank you, Professor Entry. The next one to Mrs. Juliana Ametowogo from Vodafone.